Hello, my name is Ken Hubbard. I am the Field Service Manager for Tamron USA. And today's 5-minute refresher is going to be on white balance. What exactly is white balance? White balance is the process of setting your camera so that it knows what the color of white is and thus can properly render white and all colors in your image correctly. So there's no color cast, maybe too blue or too orange. It knows in this scene what yellow is, orange is, what tan is, and can process them correctly. When setting a proper white balance in your camera, you have to take into account for the color temperature of the light source you're working with, be it cooler, already white, or warmer. A little background about the color of light. The color of light is represented by the Kelvin scale, and it gives a representation of the temperature of light. So as the numbers are smaller, the Kelvin degree scale are smaller and lower, the light is actually warmer. As the numbers go up, they start getting more and more white till you hit about 5,500 degrees, which is white. And then slowly the numbers go higher and the color of light gets cooler. Again, this is another one of those that are opposites to the way you would think, because there's a lot of that in photography. The lower the number, the warmer the light, the higher the number, the cooler the light. So think of it as in a flame itself. A flame of a matchstick is orangey, not very hot compared to a blue flame that comes out of your stove. So there's two different temperatures there. So it's represented that way. And on the right side of this, you can actually see candlelight is somewhere about 1,500 degrees. Sunset, sunrises are somewhere about 3,000. That's because they're warm. They're warm. Tungsten bulbs, old-fashioned tungsten bulbs are warm. They're about 3,500 degrees. And as you go up, daylight, you can see 5,500 degrees. Mostly overcast and shady areas are cooler. So they're somewhere around 75 degrees. Heavy shade and heavily overcast skies are somewhere about 9,000 degrees. They're even cooler. So shade, cool. Daylight, midday, white. Candlelight and sunsets, warm. Here, and you can see it, sunrise, a different type of light than midday. The previous one was a little warmer. This one is white. And again, sunset in a different condition, a heavy cloud sunset, the scene is more blue. So those are good visual representations of the different type of lighting situations you can get yourself in. And even at night, night is even a different color. So understanding what the light source is allows you to control the color of that light. And how do you do that is understanding the light and then setting the white balance in your camera. And how do you do that? Well, you got a whole bunch of different settings inside that camera of yours that allow you to control the color of light. You have auto, daylight, flash, tungsten, shade, cloudy, fluorescent, custom, and Kelvin. Not every camera has Kelvin, but they are ones that allow you to do that as well. So auto basically looks at everything and says, you know what? That's what white is. I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to turn it white. It's gotten better over the years, but it's still hit and miss under different lighting circumstances. Cloudy, what did we say cloudy was? Cloudy light is a little cooler, so it wants to add warmth, and you can see the difference. There's a little bit more warmth in that one. Daylight, because this is closer to daylight, is white, so what didn't do much to that scene. Flash, you know, it's a little bluer, so it warmed it up a little bit. Fluorescents are all over the map. So the setting in this camera took out the warmth of fluorescent and added blue. Shady light is a little bit cooler than just cloudy light. So it warms your scene up even more. And then tungsten. Tungsten is very warm, so it turns it very blue. And that's where these settings can get you into a little bit of trouble at times, depending on the lighting situation you're in. But other times they could be part of a creative process. Custom white balance is when you use a custom white balance tool and you can actually tell the camera what white is, and then it can automatically render all colors correctly. So you're telling it in custom. You're telling your camera what white is. Kelvin, if your camera has that, you can actually set the temperature to account for. It's a nice tool to have inside your camera if you do have it. So just remember, every lighting situation is going to be different. Try to set up your camera to properly render it the way you want it to, because different types of day under different conditions, the same scene is going to look differently. And when you actually have a couple of different light sources, here I have light coming in from the outside and a reflector, which is reflecting light back, as well as lights inside of the building itself that I'm contending with. So setting your camera correctly and accordingly, in this case, custom was a little bit better because I have multiple light sources. And here, setting it at automatic, it actually worked perfectly fine. So it's a matter of understanding your camera, how well it can do auto white balance if you want to use that, or your custom settings. Just remember, ultimately, the custom setting is most likely going to get you the closest to the truest color. Now, I know some of you are watching this and you're going, well, I shoot in RAW and I don't have to worry about white balance. And yeah, technically you are correct about that. And the differences are here when it comes to white balance is with the JPEG, you have less editing control with very limited ability to change white balance settings after the image is taken, because it embeds all that information. That's what happens with JPEGs. It takes density, it takes light, it takes color, and embeds it into the photograph, and your ability to change is very, very limited. Where in RAW, think of it, it's a raw file. It's a piece of dough that you can do anything with. You have more control to edit images, allowing you the ability to change white balance easily when editing in a raw converter. That means you can take a scene shot in auto white balance and change it to anything you want. You can take a scene that was shot accidentally in tungsten and it looks really blue. Guess what? You can go to auto white balance, you can go to daylight, you can go to anything you want, and it'll change it automatically without harming the image. So yes, ultimately, I recommend everybody to shoot in RAW if possible, and learn how to use your RAW converter, because it's going to give you a lot more ability to change your white balance if you accidentally make a mistake, or you need to fine tune it if you didn't do it. If you shoot JPEG, then definitely you're going to have to be closer to what it is. And I recommend custom white balance for that. So all in all, look at your scene, try to think about what you want this to look like, and set the correct white balance. Thank you for attending. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Also email me with any questions you might have. Thanks. Hope to see you soon.